Hey everyone, happy Sunday. If we're meeting for the first time, my name is Ekene and I am a feminine leadership coach and the founder of the Iconic Womanhood Circle and suite of programs. We have retreats, we have workshops, we have a mastermind, and we have an incredible membership community where high-achieving women get to come in, connect with one another, go through a coaching curriculum, be their best selves. Okay. Hi, everyone. So listen, if you are like most people, you want love, whether you are in a relationship or you're desiring a new relationship, there are three things that I have learned in my own life, but also in my years of coaching high-achieving women, that in particular, high-achieving women need to pay attention to in order to make sure that they have the very best life. And it isn't just love that this applies to. It actually applies to everything, whether it is you want a job, whether it is you want to start a business, whether you want to work with a business partner. Oh my goodness, this connects to that as well. Hello. Hi, Turi, right? So it's so important that we think about these three things that I'd love to share with you today. Okay? I call them the 3 V's. The 3 V's. And like I said, if you actually use the 3 V's as a guide for any connection you want to make, whether it is a personal or professional connection, I promise you it will help you not get into negative relationships, not get into negative situations in organizations, not get into negative business partnerships, even with clients. So I have a lot of clients, right? It helps you. 3 V's, okay? Y'all ready for the 3 V's? The first is value. Second, vision. And the third is voice. Let me break it down. Value. You want to make sure that anyone you're connecting with, whether it's for love, personal relationship, or even a business sort of proposition, that you have similar values or that your values align. You don't have to have the exact same values, but your values should align, be complementary versus opposite. And two opposite values are not necessarily two, like you think, oh, if I have a good value, he has a bad value. There isn't really bad values. They're just what matters to each of us, right? Let me tell you the key things around values. One, a lot of people don't know what their core values are. They actually don't know what's really important to them. Most people are just kind of moving through life and living it by default, never really asking the key questions. The second problem around values are some people think they know what their values are. Maybe you did a values exercise in college or in your organization or in some personal development workshop. But here's the thing that I have seen and come to understand, and I do a lot of work with organizations, but also with individuals, and this happens for both organizations and individuals. Sometimes we say that we have a certain value, but that value is really aspirational. It's who we hope we would be. It's not really our true value, right? And so we tend to not have clarity around what our values are, our core values. If you have two people who have competing core values, it can create a challenging situation. And I'll give you an example. You might have a core value around family, and the person you choose to be with might have a core value around achievement. They're not necessarily, they're both good values, right? But they can fight against each other. And if you don't sit down and have a great conversation about how you can now navigate that, it doesn't mean that that person is a bad fit. It just means that, oh, okay, we have actually some values that might fight. How do we deal with it? What agreements can we come to, right? So you really have to look at the value. Let me flesh that out for you a bit more. If you have family as a core value, let's say it's the man, family is his core value, right? Or maybe it's the woman, family is her core value. And the man, achievement is his core value, or her, achievement is her core value. The person who has achievement as a core value may care about family, but what is most important to them in that moment is getting the accolades, getting the next win, going for the higher result. And that may take them, they may spend longer hours at work. They're taking the next big assignment. They're leaving, they're constantly traveling, chasing the achievement, because achievement is their core value. The person for whom family is their core value may be ambitious, but may not, their ambition centers around their family. They want to be home. They're not going to take the assignments that take them away from home. They want to do more stuff together. So if you have two people that have those types of values, the person who has family is probably always going to be feeling like you're never here. You're never, I miss you. You're not here. You're not here with the family. I'm the only one here. There's probably going to always be a sense of a complaint. And the person who has achievement as a core value will also get frustrated with that situation because you should be understanding. You don't get it. I'm doing this for us. This is how I take care of my family. This is how I show love. This is me being the best husband I know how to be, because they're filtering, right, their love, their loyalty, their dedication through the value. You see how that it really impacts how you live your life. Someone else might have, faith or different things. So you have to really be clear, what are my core values? And then ask the next question, do our values align? And I'm not just not asking, what are your values? Because when we ask what our values are, most of us parrot off whatever we think our values should be, aspirational values. You should be paying attention to where people put their time, money, and effort. Even the scripture says, where your treasure is, that's where your heart is. Whatever we're spending our time on, whatever we're putting our money into, that's our core value. That's really the core value. That's going to reveal your core values. It's going to reveal their core values, which is why the dating courtship period is really important, which is why we're not supposed to use that time to audition for each other, to try and say, hey, pick me. No, you're supposed to use that time to really look and say, is this person a good fit for me? Right? Based on what they want. And a lot of times with women, the mistakes that we make, we tend to tell people, this is what I want. Right? I want this kind of man. And then you can get someone who will perform that for you. And the true values don't ever get revealed until when you're already in the marriage. Take the time to get to know each other, ask questions, pay attention, right? And I'll tell you what I have learned in my own life, but also I've been coaching high achieving women for years. The person you choose can be a make or break situation. You can choose someone who can help you succeed, enhance your quality of life, give you a beautiful, wonderful, juicy, loving, wonderful life. Or you can choose someone that you will have to struggle to succeed in spite of them. And that struggle is what produces those premium tears. That struggle is what breaks a lot of women and men too. That struggle is what damages and causes bitterness if you don't ever choose to heal. When you pick the wrong person, and a lot of us, or we allow ourselves to be quote unquote picked by the wrong person. So many of us have been taught that marriage is the end all be all. It doesn't matter, just marry. And you get into it and you realize, wow, there is no lonely like being lonely in marriage. There is no, like you're struggling. If you're struggling alone, it's actually, honestly, it can be more challenging to struggle in a relationship. So who you pick matters. So that first question about values is so important. But you can't answer that question if you don't know your own values. And even deeper than that, you can't answer that question if you don't know your own value. Because it takes courage to say, I am not going to choose someone who doesn't align with my values. Most of us, let me tell you what we choose on. Men and women, a lot of us. Most of us choose on vibes. Like, that's essentially what we're choosing on, vibes. It takes courage to walk away from someone who you have great vibes with, which is attraction, right? Or someone who fits the mold, like he checks all the boxes, but I'm telling you, deep down inside, this is not the right person for you. It takes courage, which is where that sense of self-worth and value really comes into play. So that's the first thing. The second thing, the second V is vision. You have to have clarity on your vision for your life. What do you want? What kind of life do you want? What's important to you? A lot of us don't have clarity on our vision. We are living our lives by default. We're just like, I just want to be happy. What does that really mean? What is happiness for you? I just want to be comfortable. Okay, what does that really mean? What kind of life is comfortable for you? What kind of, traditional roles or modern roles? What dynamic are you looking for? What is your vision for that marriage? What is your vision for that relationship? Even for people in a marriage, what is your vision? I had one woman write to me once, and she wrote paragraph after paragraph after paragraph complaining about her husband, complaining about the state of her marriage. And, I don't always respond to, I get a lot of emails, but I don't always respond, right? Sometimes I do. If I can, if I have the bandwidth, I will, right? So I said to her, hey, I can't coach, you're not my client yet, but here's the question I want to ask you. What is the vision of the marriage you do want? You spent a lot of time telling me what you don't want. What is the vision of the marriage that you do want? And she sent back a one-liner. I've never thought about that before. I said, well, go think about it. That's the first start. And when you're ready, let's talk about more. But we haven't thought about what we really want. Because when you start asking yourself your vision for marriage, then it helps you say, is this person going to be a good fit for that vision? Is this person going to work? You can start looking for signs to know whether or not, okay, we're going to move forward together in a way that makes sense, or actually our vision is very different. And again, most of us don't have a clear vision. Most of us don't invest in our vision. For whatever reason, and I was the same way when I was young, and I've cried premium tears as a result. I was. For whatever reason, we think, now it's so interesting because there's nothing like, money to me is to service me creating a better life for myself. And so I will constantly invest in learning more about myself, learning more about how I can be better and how I can create a better life. But when I was younger, I didn't do that. I was like, I can figure it out or whatever. I don't know what I was thinking, but let me tell you, it cost me. It's so interesting to me that I see so many, and we now know like more than 50% of marriages end in divorce. Over 80% of those are initiated by women. The average divorce in America, on average, I personally don't know anyone who has not spent at least $20,000 on their divorce. But the average divorce in America costs you over $70,000. Okay? That's just in money. No one is talking about what it costs you in pain. No one is talking about what it costs you in therapy bills if you want to be healed, and not just therapy for you. If you have children, therapy for your children too, right? No one talks about that. But I'm sharing this to tell you there is a significant cost, and there's a higher cost if you choose to stay in a toxic situation, which a lot of women do. Trust me, I know. I can't tell you how many women I know who either tell later, they're either sharing with me or they've written to me. I wrote a novel called Aristocrat Wives. The number of emails that I got and private messages I got when that book first came out a couple of years ago, it was heart-wrenching what women were going through, what they were tolerating. And they will have the beautiful Instagram Christmas pajama photos, all of that. You're looking at them saying, I wish I had their lives. You have no idea what's going on behind closed doors. There are wonderful marriages, by the way. I'm not saying they're not. I know a lot of women who have beautiful marriages. But I'm telling you that if you're thinking, I'll just get married, it's because they don't love, he loves me so much. Love is not the key. It's not the only thing. Vibes, like I told you, vibes are not the only thing. It's great to have desire and attraction, but all of that is not what's going to keep your marriage long term, and it's actually not what's going to bring you, it's not going to be effective, but it's not going to bring you success and joy long term. Those romantic vibes, they fade, and they fade fast, and sometimes they fade quickly because they're not real. because a lot of men in particular, and I know this happens for women too, but I'm talking to my, women do this too, but I'm talking to my women. So I'm saying a lot of men perform during courtship. A lot of men have learned how to court. So they will perform during courtship. They will do what they need to do. And then when you get married, that's when you're going to see the real them. But they show signs along the lines. But often we don't know what to look for. We see something, a little niggling in our spirit. We don't quite understand what it is. But these 3 V's will help you immediately be able to pull away from, like, okay, I have vibes with him. I like him. Yeah, take a break. I like him. He's really great. Okay, take a break, take a week, take a weekend, whatever it is. Stay away from him for a little bit and process and ask yourself these 3 questions. Do our values align? But again, you need to know your values. What is his vision for marriage? What is my vision? What is his vision for his life? What is my vision? You'll be surprised how many people never ask that question. And then you end up with someone who has a very different vision for what life looks like. His vision is, I just want to have a good time. I don't believe in saving. I believe in living for now. And you're like, what? Or you can have, let me tell you an example. A couple. They're very wealthy, but he's extremely austere. And he believed, this was his belief, he wanted to be a millionaire. And this was years ago, I remember this. They're older now, but he wanted to be a millionaire before 35 or something. He had a very clear vision, which sounds really good. Yeah? Sounds good. That was not her vision. It's not like she didn't want to be a millionaire, but that wasn't her core values again. She had a vision of them spending time together, putting her kids in a certain type of school, having certain kind of lifestyle, that required money. He didn't have a vision around how they were going to live. His vision was very clear, singular focus. I'm going to have $1 million before I'm 35. What did that look like? So that's the other question. So when they set a goal, right, is just one piece. You have to flesh out the whole vision. So if someone says, this is my goal, fantastic, ask them, tell me what that looks like. That's going to help you paint the picture, right? So the goal sounded good. Oh, he's a go-getter. This is where vision comes in. He had this lifestyle, he was pushing, they both worked, pushing them to work constantly. He didn't believe in vacations, didn't believe in overworking. They were in the healthcare, so they were just constantly working. Every little bit of money, invest it, which is fine, but he believed live bare minimum living. So they were living you would never. I'm like, why are y'all living like this, right? In my mind, but that was what he wanted. Granted, he made $1 million, but she was aging faster. This is what she was telling me. She's like, I feel like I aged in the last 5 years, since we've been together. There's no enjoyment in our lives. There's no balance. Our kids are I want to send my kids to this preschool. He won't even allow it. So they were fighting constantly, right? So do you see how you really have to dig into this? Values, vision, and have these really big questions, have these great conversations. But you can't do that if you don't have a clear vision for your life. And I'll tell you what I have also learned. Women that have a clear vision and are executing their vision and are living at the level of their vision, that's when you meet men who are in alignment easily, because you're going to meet them while you're living out your vision. But if you don't even know your vision and you're standing, which a lot of women are just kind of standing, hoping, thinking that it's just going to be how beautiful they are that will attract the person. You'll attract, if your attractiveness you will attract sexual desirabilities. That's what attractiveness is connected to. But that's not the same thing as relational desirability. And desirability is not the only thing that will make you have a good relationship or attract the right person. Because you can easily attract a person who will cause you pain. You can easily attract a person who will give you premium tears, headaches, frustrations. Women have been socialized to want to be chosen rather than to think about choosing. But I promise you, if you don't sit down and say, who do I need to choose? Then you are setting yourself up for pain. And like I said, these same V's, values, vision, and voice, across the board, whether you want to work in a company, you should ask yourself, do my values align with their organizational values? You want to work with a business partner, values, do we share the same vision? All of these align. Anyone that you want to bring into your life, even experiences, even people you want to work with, a coach, like I'm a coach, right? I see some of my clients on here, hey, right? You want to ask that coach and I, do we share the same values? And I'll tell people, like, if I don't share, there's certain things, like I'm not going to be that person who believes you should make money at all costs. I'm not. There's certain, I've seen coaches that I admire, but I don't work with them because they, and I have lots of coach friends. I wouldn't work with a coach that has certain ways of doing things. They're entitled to it. It doesn't work for me, so I'm not going to I'm not in alignment with them. I'm a woman of faith. And I tell people all the time, hey, you don't have to be a Christian to work with me. But if you have a problem with Jesus, I'm not the right fit for you. I tell people all the time. I don't take every client that comes my way because I want to make sure there's alignment, because otherwise you're going to be frustrated. So values, vision. Let me tell you the third thing. Voice. You want to make sure that any person that you want to align with, whether it's a love relationship or, like I've just said, a professional relationship, that your voice is valued, is sought after, is celebrated, is heard. It's so important that you have a voice. So many people get into relationships and they can't speak up. The person doesn't want to hear from them. Or whenever you speak, he dismisses you. So there's a couple of things that I look for, like in any kind of scenario. There's some people that have what they call a combative communication style. Some people have a combative. I think that's a trauma response somehow. But if you've ever been around, have you ever been around someone who's always arguing? They no matter what you say, oh, the sky is blue. Well, actually, I think it's a shade of greenish blue. That was such a great movie. Steven Spielberg is such a great director. Well, actually, I think, oh my God, have you ever been around someone combative, always argumentative, there's always an argument. It's exhausting, right? So when I'm around that, I tend to shut down, which means that such people, it's difficult for me to be in relationship with them because it's just like, I don't have the energy for it. I don't have the energy. And my voice isn't being heard here, right? It doesn't mean that the person has to be like, yes, sir, yes, sir. No. Of course, we can have a difference of opinion, but you want to be able to be with someone who can listen and say, okay, well, I don't agree, but I hear what you're trying to say. And vice versa. Some of us don't know how to hear the other person. I was like that for many years when I was younger. I was so enamored of my own opinion, I didn't really make room for others. But I've learned how to hear. Okay, I've grown as a result, and I've learned more things actually, because I can disagree with the person and actually learn from them at the same time. So, can they hear you? Is your voice welcome? Years ago, I was at a dinner in Nigeria, and I was visiting, of course, because I live in the States, but I was visiting, and I was with a number of couples. I was actually the only one uncoupled, interestingly enough. And anyway, and the guy, one of the husbands, starts talking to me. And I think perhaps he was trying to tell me something. I don't know. Like, how people try to tell you something without telling you something. And he said, in Nigeria, I think it's best that if a woman is out with her husband, she talks less. Like if a woman is out with her man, I think he said a man, she should talk less. In fact, I think a woman should talk less. And I was like, I was confusion. I wasn't confused. I was confusion. I was actual confusion, because this was a man that I actually knew. I know this man. I knew him very well. I was so surprised because I used to know him in the States, and that was not how he presented in the US. And so now he's back in Nigeria and he's saying this, and I'm like, oh, really? I was shocked. And true to form, his wife said nothing the whole night, barely anything. And his wife is brilliant. When I say that's a brilliant woman, she's brilliant. Far more brilliant than he is, as far as I'm concerned, quite honestly. But anyway, he really believed that she shouldn't speak. Now, to each his own. But if you are in a partnership, which is what a marriage is, it is not. I don't subscribe to that. And if a man believes that, awesome. In fact, tell me about it so I know and I can step back, because that I don't believe in that. There are perhaps women that do subscribe to that. There's a lid for every pot, or pot for every lid. I don't know how they say that, right? Find your lid. Don't go and frustrate somebody who clearly God has given a voice, or clearly she has something inside of her that she wants to cultivate. Because I believe every single person on this earth has been given a purpose. I believe that if women weren't meant to speak, and if women weren't meant to think, and if women weren't meant to add value intellectually, God would not have given us brains. God is not wasteful. God is not foolish. He's intentional. And so if he gives a woman a brain, and he gives us intuition, in fact, we have intuition, we have creativity, we have so many things that come along with being feminine. And then you tell us that we can't speak. So when we watch you about to go into a ditch, we should just be quiet and demure because we're women. No, I don't believe that. I know that there are men that do. Now, that's why you need to be asking yourself, is my voice heard? Is it valued? And there's some men that will hear it, and they're going to be like, oh, that's wonderful, sweetie. Tap, tap, very patronizing. They're not hearing you either. They minimize your contributions, or some hear you and take credit for your words. This is especially in organizations. I told you these rules apply wherever you are, because some organizations, if you're in an organization and they're always taking credit for your work and they never honor you, recognize you, when you actually say it, they don't listen. And then someone else will say the exact same thing. They're like, oh my God, Bob, that's such a great insight. Then you might be thinking, I need an exit strategy to find an organization where my value will be recognized, or my voice will be heard. So these are things to ask yourself before you align with anyone or any organization, because too often we don't ask ourselves these things. But this is why you have to start doing the work. Guys, if there's one thing I could tell you, don't nickel and dime yourself out of your future. Next Saturday, I'm hosting a visioning and roadmap strategy session. 3.5 hours. It's not a lecture. You're going to come and you're going to actually get your own blueprint, because you need to know what you need. You need a plan. Like, what is my vision for this year? And I'm not just talking about how to make this money and how to make that money. That's part of it. But a holistic vision. What kind of life do I want? What kind of love do I want? What kind of relationship do I want? Because too many of us are not asking these questions, and we're not sitting down to distill the answers. And then when you do, what is my best strategy? Let me map out a roadmap. You're going to get a 90-day roadmap. At the end of our experience together, my goal is to lead you in a process where you vision and then you map out your strategy for the next 90 days to take you on that journey. And we're going to talk about what you need to be successful, because so many of us are not living at the level of our potential. And unfortunately for us, I just shared with you at the beginning, for example, some of you, part of what you desire this year is love. I can relate, right? But I'm very clear about what is it I desire. What do I want? I have my own roadmap. There's a feminine roadmap for love, y'all. Let me tell you. I'm not talking about going out there hustling, and it doesn't even include Match.com. Nothing wrong with that if that's what you want. But it doesn't even include that for me, because I have clarity. I told you earlier on, the mistakes, when you make mistakes and then you get into a situation, a love relationship, and you have to get out, the cost of divorce, the program I'm having next Saturday is $297, $297, 3.5 hours for you to map out a strategy for you to be successful this whole year, and for you to have clear step-by-step for the next 90 days. $297 is a steal. For so many of you in the next 90 days, You don't have a plan. You're just living by default. You're living by vibes. Many people end up in relationships that you've just been in a relationship for so long. I watched a clip recently, and they were in some sort of court. There's a court, Star Jones, I guess she's the judge of that court, I guess. And they were together, and I can't remember what the issue was, but she was saying, Your Honor, I've been with him 5 years, and I want him to marry me. And she's saying to him, you don't want to be married to him. She's like, I don't want to waste 5 years. And she said, you're not wasting 5 years. You're gaining the next 50. Because so many people, you end up getting with somebody because that's the next logical step. Because you haven't sat down to map out where you're going. And then 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, 15 years down the line, $70,000, $100,000 later, you're dealing with a break that could break you. Not everybody comes out of these breaks okay. Not everybody comes out on, in a positive way. Not everybody comes out more successful. Some people make it look good. It's tough. It's doable, but it's tough. And if I knew what I knew then, I would have made very different choices. Because you can get with a decent person. Doesn't mean that they're terrible people. It just means that you guys are not in alignment at all. And you have no business being together. But take the time now to vision is critical. Do it now. That $297, 3.5 hours can change your whole life. All you have to do is go to the link in my bio. And you can either join the circle. If you join the circles, even to be honest, join the circle, $200 a month if you want to do month to month, or you can join for the whole year. And if you join for the month, right, see how it is. You get to participate in the visioning session as part of your, because circle members participate as part of your membership, and you get so much more. And then you can decide if you don't want to be in it after a month, okay, you leave after a month, no problem. But that's probably the best path, right? Join the circle. That's the thing. And we're starting on the 21st. You don't want to just keep sitting on the sidelines of your life, living your life by default. Just watching. Like, I don't know. Jump into the pool and swim, because you keep sitting on the sidelines. Life is passing you by. What if in the next 90 days you could position yourself for the love of your life? You could position yourself for the opportunity of your dreams. What if this next 90 days, there's something coming around the corner? What if this is your season, but you're unprepared to take advantage of it? So, you can either join the circle and attend, or you can buy a ticket for this visioning session happening next Saturday. Next Saturday, I'm going to be leading it personally. I'm going to work with you. We're going to go through some activations, some exercises, and you're going to get a worksheet. You're going to break it down. You're going to leave with a 90-day plan, a roadmap. If I were you, I wouldn't be missing it. If I were you, I'd be signing up immediately. Because to be honest, what do you have to lose? But just imagine all that you have to gain. So I'm about to jump off because I'm actually celebrating a 50th birthday with someone. And so I have to go celebrate with them. But I wanted to come on here and remind you that this is your time. Take advantage of it. Don't sit on the sidelines of your life. Don't live your life by default. Live your life by design and start to invest in what you want. When you do that, you'll be surprised at what can come your way. I look forward to seeing you at the roadmap session, visioning and roadmap session. All you have to do is go to bit.ly/iconic roadmap, or you can click the link in my bio. Talk to you soon. God bless you. Be well.